What if one evening as you gazed at the night sky you noticed a faint glimmer moving slowly against the tapestry of stars? Not a satellite, not a plane, but something older than our planet itself. Imagine this, a messenger traveling for billions of years through the frozen gulfs of interstellar space, finally entering our neighborhood, its path aligned with ours, as if on cue. Hey guys, tonight we will follow this quiet wanderer, an object called 3I divided by Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar visitor ever detected. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're joining from somewhere far away, leave a comment with your location and local time. I always love to see where in the world this story is being heard. Now, if you're ready, let's begin. You can picture the desert of Chile where the air is dry, the mountains bare, and the sky clear enough to reveal even the most delicate threads of starlight. On the 1st of July 2025, the Atlas Survey System, a robotic telescope designed to scan the skies for anything that might pose danger to Earth, caught something faint. It was barely a speck so dim that it might have been overlooked, yet its movement betrayed it. Against the vast starry canvas of Sagittarius, this point of light drifted with purpose, unlike the eternal stillness of background stars. Within hours, astronomers across the globe turned their instruments toward it, curious, skeptical, and then astonished. Calculations revealed that this was not just another comet. Its orbit was hyperbolic, meaning it wasn't bound to the sun's gravity. Its eccentricity, the number astronomers use to describe how stretched an orbit, is exceeded 6. For comparison, Earth's orbit is nearly a perfect circle at 0.017. Even the wildest comets born in our distant Oort cloud rarely pass one. Atlas defied those rules. It was moving too fast, too strangely to belong here. This was a traveler from the stars. Pause for a moment and let yourself drift into that thought. For all of human history, we have watched comets flare and fade. We have feared them, worshipped them, and studied them. Yet only 3 times have we recognized one that came from beyond our sun's family. Atlas is the third, a fleeting opportunity, a cosmic guest knocking softly on the door of our solar system. And like any guest from far away, it carries stories in its very substance. Think of its speed, 60 kilometers per second. That is over 200,000 kilometers per hour. Imagine driving a vintage car down a highway, except the car is 4 billion years old, and the highway stretches across light years. That is the kind of relentless pace Atlas keeps. No planet, not even massive Jupiter, could have flung it into such motion. Its energy is not of our system. It was born carrying momentum from another sun, another time, another origin. Its trajectory points back towards Sagittarius, closer to the dense heart of our Milky Way. Not the quiet suburbs where our sun lives, but the crowded neighborhoods where stars form in ancient clusters. Picture that a place where stellar winds overlap, where explosions of supernovas seed space, with heavy elements where planets form and die in quick succession. Somewhere in that turbulent region, Atlas was born perhaps before Earth existed, perhaps before our sun itself had kindled into flame. For billions of years it drifted. Maybe it was cast out violently when a giant planet swung too close. Maybe a passing star tugged it loose. Whatever the cause, Atlas became homeless, wandering through the galactic wilderness. And now, by the sheer mathematics of celestial mechanics, it has entered our solar system. No invitation, no plan, just motion and inevitability. Yet when astronomers hear such news, they ask the inevitable question, is it dangerous? Our minds leap quickly to threats. An interstellar comet heading inward sounds dramatic, even apocalyptic. But here the numbers offer comfort. Atlas will pass safely its closest approach in December 2025. We'll keep it 270 million kilometers away, farther than Mars ever travels from us. We will be spectators only, safe under our skies, watching this ancient visitor dance briefly with our Sunday. But the sun itself is another matter. For Atlas, the encounter is transformative. Eons in the cold vacuum have kept its ices locked tight. Yet already as it drifts closer, telescopes detect the first stirrings of life. A faint halo called a coma begins to appear. It is nothing more than sunlight striking ancient frozen gases, sublimating them into vapor. But in that vapor lies chemistry that no human has ever touched, molecules forged in environments different from our own. To us, it is a ghost, delicate, glowing, and strange. Think of a seashell carried across an ocean and washed onto a beach. The shell's curves tell of the waves that shaped it, the minerals of waters it once knew. So too does Atlas carry the signature of alien seas, the chemistry of stars long vanished. As its coma grows, we see those signatures unfold in the faintest colors of light recorded by telescopes like Gemini South and James Webb. And in those spectral lines, we find something extraordinary. Not the usual balance of water and dust, but carbon dioxide in unusual abundance. Imagine breathing into a mirror on a cold day. The fog that forms is water vapor common expected. Now imagine if your breath condensed into something alien, something not native to your body. That is how Atlas breathes. It exhales carbon dioxide, whispering that it was shaped in conditions unlike anything our solar nursery provided. And so as you drift deeper into this story, you might let your mind wander into speculation. What if its birthplace was a small, dim red dwarf star, where the chemistry of planetary disks runs differently? What if its materials are older than the Sun, older than the Earth, carrying secrets from a time when the galaxy itself was young? Or more fantastically, what if comets like this have long traveled between stars, carrying seeds of molecules from one system to another like cosmic bees pollinating across light years? The thought is both comforting and humbling. If Atlas survives its journey through the asteroid belt and its close brush with the Sun, it will leave us with more than data. It will leave us with the reminder that the galaxy is not a collection of isolated islands, but a flowing ocean, its waves carrying bits of matter between stars. And so tonight, as you rest, picture this solitary traveler gliding through the black ocean of space. It is small compared to planets, fragile compared to stars, and yet by simply existing, by drifting into our skies, it invites us to look outward and inward all at once. Outward to the vastness of the Milky Way, inward to our own sense of wonder. Atlas is out there now, faint but steadfast, writing its survival story across the heavens. You and I, from the safety of Earth, are witnesses. We will watch as it crosses the most dangerous part of our solar system, the asteroid belt. We will wonder whether it holds together or fractures into dust. But for now, in this moment, all we need to do is breathe slowly, picture the stars above, and let the story carry us into sleep. Picture the Milky Way not as a static spiral painted across the sky, but as a restless city alive with stellar neighborhoods. In its heart, near the thick, bustling lanes of Sagittarius stars, are born and die in cycles so rapid and violent that the region itself seems to breathe. This is the place scientists believe gave birth to Atlas, the interstellar wanderer, now brushing past our Sunday. To understand Atlas is to step into that primordial neighborhood, a place of ancient chaos where everything familiar to us was once strange. The thick disk of our galaxy is an old district. If you imagine the Milky Way as a layered cake, the thin disk is where our Sun resides, calm, organized, rich in metals, planets, and relative stability. But the thick disk, that is the rougher foundation. It formed billions of years ago when stars collided more frequently, when supernova shock waves sculpted the galactic medium like storms sculpting deserts. Atlas seems to come from there. Its path, when traced backward through time, leads into this neighborhood. It is like finding a note inside a bottle, carried to our shores by ancient tides, written in a language older than we can decipher. Think of the chemistry locked within its nucleus. Unlike the comets born near our own Oort cloud, Atlas exhales more carbon dioxide than water vapor. This is not normal. In our solar nursery, water ice was abundant. Sunlight radiation and temperature gradients made it the dominant volatile. But in the thick disk, where metallicity was low and the balance of gases, different carbon dioxide could take the role of water. This explains Atlas's strange breath. When we watch its coma flare with CO2, we are not just observing a comet, We are listening to the accent of another region of the galaxy. Imagine the galaxy as a gathering of storytellers. Each star tells a tale, and each planet or comet is like a word in that tale. Most of the words we hear belong to our family of storytellers, the sun and its children. But once in a while, a new word arrives. Its syllables strange, its rhythm foreign. Atlas is such a word, and its meaning, though not fully clear, is bound to expand the story we tell about ourselves. Scientists call it extraordinary age. If the models are correct, Atlas might predate our solar system by billions of years. Imagine Earth not yet formed, the sun not yet lit, while Atlas was already drifting, a frozen relic of galactic antiquity. Its surfaces have been scoured by cosmic rays for eons, its crust darkened like old wood, exposed to endless storms. Yet beneath that hardened skin, ices may remain as pristine as the day they froze. We are watching time itself preserved. Consider how such an object is ejected. Planetary systems in their infancy are battlegrounds. Giant planets migrate, shifting inward and outward, like restless guardians scattering smaller icy bodies in every direction. Some crash into stars, some collide with larger planets, and some are hurled outward with such speed that they break free forever, severing ties with their birth star. Imagine standing on a young world as a massive planet swings by its gravity, a slingshot. A small, icy body nearby is caught, accelerated, and flung outward like a pebble tossed from a sling. That pebble drifts not for decades, not for centuries, but for billions of years across interstellar dark. Atlas is one of those pebbles. Yet this pebble is no ordinary stone. When James Webb looked at it, the telescope saw the fingerprint of a chemistry alien to us. Ratios that don't match local comets. Polarization patterns that hint at grains with different textures. Each clue adds weight to the idea that Atlas is not just another comet in disguise, but a traveler with its own culture of matter, its own dialect of physics. And here we step beyond science into reflection. What if every star system creates its own kinds of comets, its own wandering emissaries? Then the galaxy is not silent. It speaks through these messengers. Each one is a sentence traveling vast distances to deliver fragments of truth. Atlas is simply one of the first we've noticed. Others may have passed unseen in the centuries before telescopes. Many more may follow in the years to come. What we once thought of as rare an interstellar visitor might in fact be common, hidden only by the limits of our vision. There's something poetic in this thought. While we dream, while we tell stories, while we build civilizations, the galaxy is exchanging matter quietly, endlessly. Atlas is evidence of that exchange, proof that no system stands alone. Just as rivers carry sediments to distant oceans, comets like Atlas carry ices and dust from one star to another, spreading the building blocks of chemistry across the Milky Way. Could life's ingredients travel this way too? Could the seeds of biology be dispersed through such ancient chaos? The speculation is not new, but when you imagine Atlas as a vessel drifting across ages, the idea feels less like fantasy and more like possibility. Now let your thoughts wander further. Picture Atlas billions of years ago, freshly born, shining faintly as it left its home. Stars crowded its sky. Perhaps it passed near other worlds, watched from afar as civilizations rose and fell. Not by intention, not by awareness, but by chance, an unknowing witness to histories we will never know. And now, after so much wandering, it drifts past our Sunday. For a few short months we have the privilege to notice it. Then, just as quietly, it will depart. The chaos of its origin is a reminder of our own beginnings. Earth, too, was born from collisions from fire, from the scattering of dust. Our sun, too, came from crowded neighborhoods of stellar birth. We share more with Atlas than we might admit. We are both products of violent beginnings carried forward into calmer times. Atlas preserves the memory of that chaos in its frozen heart. We carry the memory in our rocks, our fossils, our very atoms forged in ancient stars. And so as you lie back tonight, listening to this tale, think of the galaxy not as cold or indifferent, but as alive with exchanges. Somewhere in another system, another being may look up and wonder about a faint speck in their sky, perhaps a comet we once ejected now wandering into their home. Perhaps in this way every system speaks to every other. Atlas is one voice in that eternal conversation. Its birth in the thick disk, in the turbulence of ancient chaos, shaped it into what it is today, a survivor, a messenger, a frozen shard of galactic history. And now for a fleeting moment that history passes before our eyes. When you close your eyes and imagine the universe, you may picture swirling stars, glowing nebulae or planets in calm orbits. Yet beneath these images lies something quieter and more certain: numbers, equations, patterns that whisper the truth of where an object belongs and where it does not. For Atlas, those numbers told a startling story, one that confirmed it was not of our world, not even of our sun's domain. It was, and is, an exile from another star. The very first clue was its eccentricity. In astronomy, eccentricity measures how stretched an orbit island. A perfect circle is 0. Earth, our home, barely strays from roundness at 0.017. Mars at 0.09. 3 more oval but still bound. Comets from our Oort cloud. They stretch farther, often approaching an eccentricity close to 1, like arrows barely held by the sun's grip. But Atlas, its number was not 1. It was over 6. 6. That single digit shouted across observatories like a bell in the night. This comet was not bound at all. Its orbit was hyperbolic, meaning it would not loop back. It would pass through once, like a guest who does not stay for tea but continues down the road without pause. Consider the scale of that message. If you launch a stone upward, Earth's gravity pulls it back. Even rockets, unless they reach escape velocity, fall again. The sun's gravity is stronger, it's well deeper. To escape it entirely is to hold extraordinary speed. Atlas not only escaped another star but carried enough momentum to glide through ours, ignoring the sun's tether as though it were nothing more than a light breeze. That realization alone should lull you with awe. Its velocity confirmed the story. 60 kilometers per second, that is its pace. To ground it in something familiar, imagine standing by a road and watching a car speed by at 100 kilometers per hour. That car would vanish quickly from sight. Now multiply that speed by 2000. Atlas travels faster, still a bullet through the dark. A silent arrow loosed eons ago. No gravitational slingshot from Jupiter, no assist from Saturn could create such motion. This was momentum borrowed from another system entirely. Pause here. Let the numbers become a rhythm in your mind. 60 kilometers per second, 200,000 kilometers per hour, hyperbolic eccentricity of 6. Each figure is both a fact and a lullaby. Each is a reminder that we live in a cosmos defined not just by beauty but by quiet mathematics. Numbers steady the heart when fear arises. Numbers prove we are safe, that Atlas will pass far from Earth. But numbers also reveal wonder, confirming that we are watching a rare, precious event. Astronomers tested their models, tracing Atlas backward in time, like detectives following footprints. Each simulation pushed its path farther away beyond Neptune, beyond the Oort cloud, beyond the borders of the sun's authority. And still the footprints continued. The only conclusion: Atlas had fallen toward us, not for decades, not for centuries, but for millions, perhaps billions of years, its arc shaped by the gravity of stars long extinguished. Imagine carrying such a journey in silence. When its path was mapped onto the canvas of the sky, the line pointed back to Sagittarius. Not the quiet outskirts, but toward the galactic core. This was not coincidence. The central regions are dense alive with activity. Stars brush against each other's gravity, scattering comets, like leaves in a storm. To think Atlas began there in a neighborhood, ancient and crowded, and now passes here near us, feels like watching a message in a bottle drift across an ocean, only to wash up at your feet. The physics alone would be enough to prove Atlas is interstellar, but the imagination cannot resist embellishing the numbers with wonder. What if this comet once circled a red dwarf, faint and cool, its ices preserved in dim light? What if it came from a binary system where 2 suns tugged it this way and that until one day a passing star set it free? Or more strangely still, What if it has passed near countless systems, gathering scars and stories like a pilgrim wandering from temple to temple across the galaxy? The comet's speed gives these musings gravity. At 60 kilometers per second, Atlas cannot stop. It cannot be captured. It cannot circle our Sunday. Its orbit is not a loop, but a line. It comes in flares briefly with sunlight and leaves forever. The certainty of that is bittersweet. We cannot keep it. We cannot claim it. We can only observe while it is here, like watching a shooting star from your window, a spark that reminds you of infinity and then fades. The retrograde nature of its orbit adds yet another twist. Atlas does not move in step with the planets. It travels against the flow like a lone fish swimming upriver. This means any chance encounters are more violent, its relative speed to local objects amplified. The mathematics of collision risk become sharper here. Though the odds remain tiny, the energy of any meeting would be catastrophic. Imagine two cars colliding head-on at highway speed. The energy is not doubled, but quadrupled. Now scale that to cosmic terms. Numbers turn abstract into vivid possibility. Yet as soothing as the rhythm of figures is, one cannot ignore their poetry. Think of eccentricity not just as a number, but as a metaphor. We live in circles bound to patterns repeating seasons. Atlas lives in a line defying return, embracing impermanence. Its path teaches us that not all journeys end where they began. Some continue endlessly outward, a reminder that the universe values variety as much as stability. Astronomers speak of hyperbolic excess velocity, the speed an object keeps even after leaving the pull of a star. For Atlas, that number is 58 kilometers per second. It means that long after it leaves our sun behind, it will still glide at that pace into the void. No star can easily claim it. It is too fast, too free. Like a bird that has tasted open sky, it will not return to cages. And so tonight as you rest, let these numbers become something softer than calculation. Let them become music. Each figure hums of distance, time, and resilience. Eccentricity 6, velocity 60 kilometers per second, perihelion in October 2025. These are the heartbeat of Atlas, steady and sure. In listening we find calm. Atlas is not ours to keep, but it is ours to witness. Through mathematics, through gravity, through the simple honesty of motion, it tells us who it is, a child of another star, unbound and eternal. As you breathe slowly, imagine yourself floating alongside it, carried not by wings or engines, but by pure momentum, gliding forever into the dark. Imagine a wanderer who has been asleep for ages, its body locked in silence, its breath held for longer than Earth has existed. Now, picture that wanderer drifting into warmth after billions of years in the dark. The first rays touch its skin and something stirs. That is what happens as Atlas approaches our Sunday. The ices that have been frozen since the dawn of another star system are finally beginning to wake. At first, nothing changes. For months after its discovery, Atlas looked like a dim star, just a point of light sliding slowly across the sky. To the naked eye, it was unremarkable. But astronomers, patient and watchful, noticed the shift. A haze began to form around the nucleus, faint, barely perceptible. This is the coma, the delicate cloud of vapor and dust that surrounds a comet when sunlight warms its ancient ices. For Atlas, this coma was a miracle. It was the breath of another world. Think of the process in simple steps. Sunlight strikes the comet. Solid ice locked in its nucleus for billions of years does not melt in the usual way. Instead, it sublimates, jumping directly from solid to gas. The vapor escapes, dragging tiny grains of dust with it. Together, they create an atmosphere larger than Earth, surrounding a nucleus only a few kilometers across. Out of something small comes something vast, ephemeral, and luminous. It is like watching a candle flame, born from a wick that had been waiting across cosmic time. But Atlas's coma is no ordinary veil. When the James Webb Space Telescope studied it, the spectra revealed something unusual. Carbon dioxide dominated the mix, outshining even water vapor. Most comets from our system begin with water as their primary ingredient, whispering of icy origins in the sun's outer nursery. Atlas, however, spoke another language. Its breath was laced with CO₂, telling of a birth environment foreign to ours. Imagine listening to someone hum, an ancient song in a tongue you've never heard before, familiar in rhythm yet strange in detail. That is what Atlas's chemistry feels like. There is poetry in this difference. Water has always been our measure of habitability, our shorthand for life. But here was a comet saying in other systems, in other times, the chemistry may flow differently. Carbon dioxide may rule where water is scarce. And still these ices endure, carrying possibilities we can only dream of. Perhaps life elsewhere does not look for oceans. Perhaps it thrives on foundations alien to us. Atlas, by exhaling CO₂, invites us to broaden our imagination. As the coma grew, so too did Atlas's tail. Sunlight pushes dust away, scattering grains like sparks drifting from a fire. The solar wind, a river of charged particles streaming from the sun, catches ionized gases and sweeps them outward. Together, these forces weave two distinct tails, one curving, one straight. The dust tail, soft and golden, bends gently along the comet's path. The ion tail, blue and sharp, points directly away from the sun like a compass needle. Atlas now trailed these banners across the night, fragile flags announcing its presence. Pause for a moment. Close your eyes and picture that sight, a small body of ice and dust carrying chemistry from another star, now stretching luminous veils millions of kilometers long. Against the black canvas of space it glows. Against the silence of night it whispers. You may never see it with your own eyes, but imagining it is enough. The image itself is soothing, a reminder of how even the smallest things can create beauty when touched by light. Yet beauty often hides fragility. The very process that creates the coma is also what erodes the comet. Each particle stripped away is a piece of Atlas lost forever. Every puff of vapor, every grain of dust is matter that will never return. For Atlas, survival is a delicate balance. To shine is to diminish. To wake is to lose. Its tail is both its glory and its undoing. Astronomers noticed irregularities in its activity. Instead of smooth, steady outgassing, Atlas showed sudden bursts, jets of material streaming in uneven directions. Some areas of the nucleus seemed more volatile than others. This asymmetry could be harmless, or it could signal weakness, fissures opening, stresses building. Asymmetric outgassing can also spin a comet, altering its rotation, even destabilizing it. Imagine a sleeping traveler waking too fast, stumbling as it adjusts to light. Atlas too might stumble under the sun's touch. Still, there is wonder in the unpredictability. Each irregular jet, each flare of brightness tells us something new about its structure. It is as if the comet were speaking in bursts of syllables, a staccato language of gas and dust. Scientists translate these bursts into charts and graphs. But for us listening in a calmer way, they are like verses of a lullaby, irregular but soothing. Now let your thoughts drift to metaphor. Perhaps Atlas is like an old manuscript, sealed for ages in a chest. The sunlight is the scholar's hand opening the pages for the first time. Some lines are faded, others still fresh. The writing may crumble even as it is read, but in that fragile act of revelation lies knowledge too precious to ignore. Atlas awakening under the sun is that manuscript. Each jet of gas is a line revealed, each spark of dust a word finally spoken. This awakening is also a mirror of us. For how long have we carried within ourselves memories, hopes, or stories locked tight, waiting for warmth to coax them out? Atlas teaches that awakening is not gentle. It is messy, uneven, sometimes violent, yet it is necessary. To stay frozen forever is to remain silent. To awaken is to share, even if sharing shortens the life of what is shared. And so, as you drift towards sleep, think of Atlas not as an object of fear, but as a companion in vulnerability. It is old, fragile, yet luminous. It shines only because it is letting go of itself piece by piece. Perhaps that is the fate of all things, to glow brightest in their moments of release. Soon Atlas will face the asteroid belt, a region painted as dangerous though emptier than imagination suggests. But before that trial, it gives us the sight of an ancient wanderer, waking, stretching, exhaling in light. Its coma is both cloak and countdown, both revelation and farewell. And we small on our world below get to witness this act of cosmic breathing. Let the image linger as you close your eyes, a dark nucleus hidden inside, a glowing veil tails streaming softly into the void sunlight, glinting on dust born billions of years ago. The wanderer has awakened. Its story is only beginning. Close your eyes and imagine inhaling the scent of a forest. You expect pine earth damp moss. Now imagine instead that the air carries something unfamiliar, sharp, metallic sweet in ways you can't name. This is what scientists felt when they studied Atlas's coma. They anticipated water, the universal signature of comets from our solar nursery. Instead, Atlas whispered in a different tongue, carbon dioxide abundant and insistent, painting its breath in alien colors. From the very beginning, astronomers knew Atlas was unusual. When telescopes first caught its spectral signature, the ratios were astonishing. For every molecule of water vapor released, there were nearly 8 of carbon dioxide. This flipped the script. Local comets behave differently. Water dominates and CO₂ only rises in importance at great distances from the Sunday. But Atlas began its activity earlier, at colder temperatures, hinting that its surface or interior composition was built under circumstances foreign to our familiar models. Why does this matter? Chemistry tells history. Each element, each ratio is like an accent revealing where someone grew up. Earth's comets speak with the accent of our solar cradle, rich in water, peppered with dust, carrying hydrocarbons in familiar balance. Atlas speaks with a different cadence. Its emphasis on CO₂ suggests it was born in a colder, lower metallicity environment, perhaps near the edge of a red dwarf's protoplanetary disk, where temperatures and radiation allowed carbon dioxide to dominate. Or perhaps over billions of years, cosmic rays transformed its ices, turning water into other compounds. Either way, the message is clear. Atlas is not a child of our Sunday. Think of it as tasting a fruit you've never seen before. It looks somewhat like an apple, feels like an apple, yet when you bite into it, the flavor is sharp and new. Still sweet, still nourishing, but unfamiliar enough to remind you that the orchard is far larger than the one you've always known. Atlas is that fruit. Its taste tells us of orchards orbiting other stars. The James Webb Space Telescope gave us the most detailed glimpse. Its infrared sensors are designed to read the fingerprints of molecules, and what it found in Atlas's coma deepened the mystery. Strong signals of CO₂, weaker traces of water, and hints of exotic compounds we barely understand. Carbon monoxide too played a role, another volatile that behaves differently depending on where and how an object formed. Together, these findings sketch a portrait of a place far from here, a place where planetary chemistry ran along different lines. It's easy to slip into metaphor here. Picture a library filled with countless books, each one written by a different star system. For centuries, we've been reading only the volumes in our own corner, the ones the sun and its planets wrote. They are familiar, comfortable, telling us about water cycles, oxygen, chemistry, silicate dust. Then one day, a new book arrives, carried across the galaxy. Its pages are in the same script, but the words are unfamiliar. The grammar is alien, the metaphors strange. Atlas is that book. And though we can only read fragments, each page reshapes our understanding of the library itself. The cultural imagination responds to such discoveries with awe and speculation. Some recall myths of gods who breathed life into clay or tales of wandering spirits carrying gifts from afar. Atlas, with its CO₂-dominated breath, feels almost like one of these myths made real, a traveler exhaling stories from another realm. Ancient Greeks imagined ambrosia, the food of the gods, as something foreign yet sustaining. Perhaps in a poetic sense, Atlas carries its own kind of ambrosia chemistry, not meant for us yet rich with meaning. But what if we stretch our thinking further? Suppose comets like Atlas are not rare. Suppose every planetary system ejects thousands, millions into the galaxy. Then interstellar space is not empty. It is seeded with chemistry, a wandering garden of ices and dust. Each time one passes through a new system, it leaves a trace, a sample, a gift. Perhaps life itself owes something to these gifts. Perhaps Earth's first sparks of biology were kindled in part by such foreign seeds. To imagine this is to see Atlas not as a curiosity, but as kin, a relative from far away, whose presence here reminds us of our shared cosmic ancestry. Scientists careful by nature do not leap to such conclusions. They measure isotopes, compare ratios, test hypotheses. Yet even in their caution, wonder slips through. The differences are undeniable. Atlas's grains scatter light differently, its coma polarizes starlight in unusual ways. The textures of its dust may be rougher, its particles shaped by conditions unfamiliar to us. These are not trivial details, they are fingerprints left by another nursery, clues that matter itself evolves differently under other suns. Think of a potter's clay shaped by different soils and waters. A vessel made in Greece feels different from one made in China, even if both serve the same purpose. So too with comets. Atlas carries the fingerprints of its potter, the star, and disk that shaped it. By studying it, we learn not only about Atlas, but about the diversity of creation across the galaxy. There is something soothing in this realization. We often imagine ourselves alone, isolated in our system, our chemistry unique, but Atlas tells us otherwise. The galaxy is rich with variation. Life's ingredients are not confined to one recipe. There are many kitchens, many fires, many pots simmering across the Milky Way. Each comet that enters our skies is a taste from another kitchen, a reminder that we are part of a larger banquet. Yet beauty again comes with fragility. The very act of studying Atlas consumes it. Each molecule that sublimates into its coma is a molecule lost forever. We read its story only as the pages burn in the fire of sunlight. To witness is to watch loss and revelation entwined. It is bittersweet, like listening to music you know will end too soon. Still, as you lie back and let this story drift over you, perhaps there is comfort in the thought that such chemistry exists at all. That across the galaxy, in countless hidden corners, comets like Atlas hold secrets waiting for the chance to cross into another system. Tonight, one of them is here, in our skies. It exhales carbon dioxide, shimmering like a soft sigh across millions of kilometers. And as we watch, we learn that the universe is stranger, richer, and more generous than we imagined. Atlas is more than ice and dust. It is a teacher whispering through chemistry that life and matter take many forms. We listen, we measure, we dream. And when it leaves, we will remember the sound of its alien breath, faint but unforgettable, carrying across the silence of space. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast forest. The path ahead looks quiet, but you've heard stories of shadows within hidden dangers, unseen watchers, silent risks. That is where Atlas now finds itself. After eons of drifting in the emptiness between stars, after months of gliding closer to our sun, the interstellar wanderer approaches a region of myth and imagination, the asteroid belt, the crowded middle zone between Mars and Jupiter. For Atlas, it is a crossing that feels like a trial, a test, perhaps even a rite of passage. Popular culture paints the asteroid belt as a wall of danger. Hollywood starships dodging rocks that tumble, endlessly heroes weaving between boulders. The reality is quieter, yet no less fascinating. The belt is vast. Objects are separated by millions of kilometers, more space than stone. A spacecraft has better odds of drifting alone for decades than crashing into a boulder. And yet for Atlas, the danger is not entirely gone. It travels on a retrograde path, moving against the current of local traffic. In such a crossing, even a pebble could strike like a bullet. The numbers, reassuring as they are, cannot erase the drama of possibility. Think of the belt itself as a museum, a gallery of fragments from our solar system's earliest days. Here orbits Ceres, a world large enough to be round, carrying scars of past collisions. Nearby, Vesta shines its surface bright with ancient lava plains, remnants of a world that nearly became a planet. Smaller shards drift everywhere, Pallas Hygeia and countless unnamed rocks, each a relic of the solar system's construction. If planets are novels, the asteroids are drafts, chapters half-written, torn and scattered, preserved in fragments. For Atlas, threading through this museum is both peril and opportunity. Because Atlas is not just passing, it is rushing. Its velocity relative to the belt objects exceeds 100 kilometers per second. That is not a quiet stroll through a gallery. It is a sprint down a crowded hallway against the flow. The faster you move, the more dangerous even small things become. Dust grains, invisible to the eye, may hit with the force of rifle shots. Pebbles may strike with the energy of bombs. Atlas's coma, delicate and growing, is especially vulnerable. Each impact could strip more material, change the shape of its tail, trigger sudden outbursts. Astronomers watch with both caution and hope, waiting to see how the belt sculpts this alien traveler. Yet there is another layer opportunity. If Atlas interacts with the dust, if its tail shifts or brightens in response, those changes reveal the environment of the belt itself. In this way, Atlas becomes more than a visitor. It becomes a probe, a natural spacecraft sending back data about regions we cannot yet explore in such detail. Its fragility is its gift, allowing us to see through its struggles what normally lies invisible. Pause here and let yourself imagine Atlas entering the belt. From afar it looks unchanged, a faint streak of light against the night. But closer in the mind's eye, you can see its coma, glowing softly, tails extending like banners. The sun illuminates its breath, while ahead, the belt stretches out an invisible threshold. The silence is heavy, as though the galaxy itself is holding its breath. Astronomers compare this moment to an ancient traveler reaching a mountain pass. On one side lies the open plain of interstellar space, familiar in its emptiness. On the other side lies the inner solar system, bright and warm but crowded with complexity. Between the two is the belt, rocky, unpredictable, demanding respect. To pass through is to prove resilience. To falter is to vanish in fragments. Atlas, like a pilgrim, steps forward into this test. There is a touch of mythology here too. Cultures across time imagined gates that one must pass, whether the Styx in Greek tales guarded by Charon, or the Yomi River in Japanese lore dividing life from afterlife. Atlas faces its own gate, and though the guardians are not gods but stones, the symbolism feels the same. To survive is to emerge transformed. To fall is to become legend. But we must remember, the statistics remain gentle. The belt is more like an ocean dotted with islands than a field packed with rocks. NASA's spacecraft, Pioneer, Voyager, New Horizons, have all crossed without harm. The odds favor Atlas. The fear is not collision but erosion, not destruction but subtle stress. It is the dust, the fine grains, the sandblasting environment that poses the truer test. Can Atlas withstand the constant pressure of countless tiny impacts while already shedding its own material under solar heat? Some scientists speculate that the belt might even enhance Atlas's beauty. Encounters with dust could create shimmering streams in its tail ripples that reveal solar wind patterns, luminous waves that arc across space. Imagine standing on Earth, looking up and seeing not just a comet but a living tapestry of light shaped by invisible hands. This possibility makes the crossing less a threat and more a performance, a cosmic dance unfolding before us. For you drifting towards sleep, think of Atlas's journey as your own. We all approach thresholds. We all must pass through regions of uncertainty where the risks are real, but the rewards are greater understanding. Atlas's courage, if one can call it that, lies in its inevitability. It does not turn aside. It moves forward because motion is its nature. And perhaps that is a lesson too, that sometimes to move through chaos is not to fight it, but to keep gliding, trusting the path that has carried you this far. The asteroid belt beckons. Its stones are silent, its dust invisible, its dangers mostly imagined. Yet for Atlas, it is a crucible. For us, it is a theatre offering a chance to watch a rare visitor tested by the very environment that shaped our own world long ago. Soon Atlas will enter. Soon its coma will meet the dust, its tails will react. Its chemistry will be written in new patterns across the night. And as we watch, we will learn not only about the comet, but about ourselves, how we imagine danger, how we reframe survival, how we find wonder in what others might fear. The belt waits silent and vast, and Atlas, racing ever forward, cannot hesitate. It steps into the gallery, the gauntlet, the gate. The outcome remains unknown, but the story has already deepened. Imagine a wide highway at night, cars flowing steadily in one direction, each headlight part of a rhythm. Now imagine a single vehicle barreling straight against that flow head-on, unstoppable. That is what Atlas is doing as it plunges into the asteroid belt. While nearly every planet, asteroid and comet in our solar family drifts in prograde motion following the sun's spin like dancers circling a stage, Atlas comes from the opposite side retrograde, a lone traveler moving upstream in a river of stone. The mathematics of this is simple but profound. When two objects move in the same direction, their relative speeds are gentle. A pebble striking your windshield while driving behind another car may chip the glass but rarely destroys it. But when two objects meet head-on, their velocities combine. Energy rises exponentially. Atlas, at over 60 kilometers per second, meets belt residents drifting in the opposite lane. Relative speeds reach 100 kilometers per second or more. Even dust grains, no larger than grains of sand, strike with the violence of explosions. Pause and let this sink in. Space is mostly empty, yes, but the energy of even rare encounters is immense. A pebble here could shatter Atlas's crust. A boulder, though almost unimaginably unlikely, could fragment it entirely. And yet here is the paradox. This very danger also makes the crossing scientifically priceless. Each micro-interaction could reveal secrets of both Atlas and the belt. Each ripple in its tail, each flicker in brightness, is a message written in the language of collision. For astronomers, Atlas's retrograde path is a gift. Most comets skim through the belt with relative calm drifting alongside its native population. Their interactions are muted, but Atlas rushing headlong against traffic maximizes contrast. It is like stirring cream into coffee. The turbulence reveals patterns otherwise hidden. By watching how Atlas's coma reacts, scientists hope to map unseen dust trace plasma effects and glimpse conditions of the belt with an interstellar probe that asks for no fuel, no commands, only patient eyes. Consider how rare this island interstellar objects like Oumuamua and Borisov passed without such drama. Oumuamua was mysterious, yes, but faint, silent, and already departing when we discovered it. Borisov resembled a normal comet, familiar in its chemistry and behavior. Neither threaded directly through the densest part of our system in a retrograde orbit. Atlas is unique, the first to take the hard path, the dangerous road, the route that threads the needle of cosmic traffic. Think of myths of heroes crossing rivers against the current, figures like Odysseus struggling upstream or salmon leaping waterfalls to spawn. Atlas carries the same symbolic weight. Its retrograde orbit is not choice but destiny, carved by gravitational encounters in a distant system long ago. And yet the imagery resonates, a traveler who dares the opposite path, whose very survival feels like defiance. Now imagine Atlas itself, a nucleus only a few kilometers wide, dark as charcoal tumbling through space. Around it, a growing veil of vapor and dust. Behind it, twin tails stretch millions of kilometers. From a distance, serene like a soft brushstroke across the night sky. Yet in truth, it hurtles headlong into a field of unseen stones, its speed making every particle a potential threat. There is poetry in this contradiction to the eye tranquil. In reality, a storm of motion, and yet comfort comes from perspective. NASA's own missions, Pioneer, Voyager, Cassini, Dawn, have crossed the belt without incident. The space between asteroids is enormous. Atlas, though vulnerable, is likely to pass through unharmed. The danger is small but not zero, and it is in that sliver of risk that imagination takes root. We cannot help but wonder, what if? What if one grain too large, one pebble too perfectly aligned were to strike? Would we witness a flash, a sudden brightening, a fragmenting visitor vanishing before our eyes? Or would we see resilience, a comet that shrugs off blows as it continues its journey? For those watching, each night of observation becomes a meditation on uncertainty. Telescopes track the faint glow, measuring changes. Brightness curves reveal outbursts. Spectra record subtle chemical shifts. Behind the data lies a simple truth: we do not know how Atlas will respond. The belt is not merely a physical challenge, but a mirror of our own curiosity, testing whether we can watch patiently without needing control, whether we can accept risk without demand for certainty. Let your thoughts drift further. Retrograde motion is not just a physical oddity, it is a metaphor for difference. Most of us move with the current following familiar paths, comforted by predictability. But sometimes something or someone moves against the flow. At first it seems dangerous, unwelcome, even doomed. Yet such difference often brings insight, reveals truths, unseen by those moving in unison. Atlas retrograde and rare embodies this. Its path teaches us that even against the current beauty and meaning can survive. And so as you listen, picture yourself beside Atlas. You feel the rush of invisible winds, the solar breeze, the whisper of dust, the pull of gravity. You move against the traffic of countless small bodies, fearless, not because danger is absent, but because motion is inevitable. Every breath you take is a mirror of Atlas's coma, fragile yet luminous. Every heartbeat is a reminder that survival is often about persistence, not perfection. The asteroid belt spreads before Atlas like a vast sea. Its residents drift quietly following the sun's rhythm. And here comes a stranger, rushing in from the outside, challenging that order by its very presence. Whether it emerges intact or scarred, it will have written a chapter of cosmic history no other comet has yet written. For us safe on Earth, the spectacle is calming rather than frightening. We are distant enough to watch without fear, close enough to learn. As you close your eyes tonight, think of Atlas not as reckless but as purposeful, carrying its message with steady determination. Against the flow of traffic it does not falter. Against the river of stones it glides on. Against the odds it remains a beacon of motion, resilience and mystery. The story continues, and the outcome remains unwritten. But for now the image lingers, a solitary wanderer, moving upstream through the galaxy's quiet river, silent, fragile, and yet unyielding. Imagine wandering through a cathedral that has collapsed, its pillars broken, its arches scattered across the ground. You see pieces of grandeur everywhere, stones that once supported towers, fragments of windows that once told stories in coloured light. The asteroid belt is like that cathedral, not empty, not whole, but filled with the remnants of what might have been. For Atlas, entering this region means gliding past fragments of forgotten worlds, each whispering of a solar system that could have unfolded differently. Ceres is the first name that comes to mind. Nearly 1,000 kilometers across it is large enough to be round, large enough to carry water ice deep beneath its surface. Once scientists wondered if Ceres might be an embryo of a planet, arrested in its growth by Jupiter's disruptive gravity. Instead of becoming a world like Earth or Mars, it remained small, locked forever as an unfinished story. When Atlas passes nearby, it drifts past a relic of potential, a reminder that even in creation chance decides which seeds flourish and which remain stunted. Then there is Vesta, scarred and bright. Its surface is marked by enormous impact basins, wounds from collisions so violent that fragments of Vesta have rained down on Earth as meteorites. Imagine Atlas drifting past carrying alien chemistry while fragments of Vesta born here have travelled outward and fallen onto our soil. Matter flows both ways across time and space, as if the galaxy itself refuses to keep its stories contained. Pallas, Hygeia, and countless smaller objects orbit here as well. Each one is different. Some are rich in carbon, dark and primitive, preserving the chemistry of the early nebula. Others gleam with metal cores of shattered bodies that once melted, differentiated, and broke apart. A few are almost pure nickel and iron, glittering like exposed hearts of worlds that never fully formed. Atlas weaves between them, not touching, not colliding, but sharing space for the briefest of moments, a guest passing through a hall of silent guardians. Think of what this means. Atlas is interstellar, its chemistry shaped in a neighborhood beyond our Sunday. The asteroids are local children of this system, carrying our own ancestral chemistry. In this crossing, alien meets native. For the first time in billions of years, matter from distant stars drifts alongside matter from our own nursery. They do not touch, but proximity itself feels profound. It is like two travelers passing on a narrow road, nodding to one another before continuing on separate journeys. That brief meeting carries the quiet weight of recognition. The symbolism deepens when we imagine what might have been. The asteroid belt could have become a planet. Perhaps two. In another history, Earth might have had a massive neighbor between Mars and Jupiter. Instead, Jupiter's gravity disrupted the region, preventing accretions scattering fragments into orbits of endless separation. What remains is not failure, but a museum of possibilities. Atlas, drifting among these fragments, is like a historian leafing through drafts of a novel that was never finished. Pause here and let your mind drift to cultural echoes. Ancient myths often spoke of worlds destroyed before ours, lost realms, shattered lands. The Greeks imagined Phaethon, son of Helios, whose reckless drive of the sun's chariot scorched the earth and broke the heavens. Some astronomers even borrowed that name Phaethon for an asteroid that sheds dust into our skies. In a sense, the asteroid belt is our Phaeton, the broken chariot of a planet that never was. Atlas entering this realm moves through myth as much as rock. From Earth, telescopes cannot see every detail. The asteroids are small, their distances vast. Yet the symbolism is clear. To watch Atlas approach is to watch a comet from another star, share space with the bones of our own solar story. Each observation, each flicker of brightness is not just science but narrative, a weaving of past and present. We measure isotopes, yes, but we also imagine. We imagine collisions long ago, fragments hurled outward, dust spiraling inward, Atlas passing by like a storyteller, pausing at ruins before continuing onward. The risks here are subtle. Large bodies like Ceres and Vesta pose no real danger, space is too vast, distances too great. But smaller fragments, unseen and untracked, may cross Atlas's path. Dust swirls constantly created by impacts among the belt's residents. Atlas, glowing with its coma, offers a wide surface to that dust. Each grain may sputter away ices, create bursts of brightness, or even carve tiny scars. For astronomers, such scars are messages, windows into Atlas's resilience. For us, they are reminders that even fragile things can endure passage through fields of hardship. Think, too, of the contrasts. The asteroids are silent, passive, slowly orbiting in place for billions of years. Atlas is swift, dynamic, shedding light and vapor as it rushes through. The locals are settled. The visitor is transient. Yet both are shaped by gravity, both obey the same physics, both belong to the same galaxy. Their meeting reminds us of unity beneath diversity. And perhaps there is comfort in this unity. When you feel out of place, when you move against the grain, remember Atlas. It does not belong to the belt, and yet it moves through it gracefully, bearing its own history without apology. The asteroids do not reject it. They continue their slow dance. For a while, alien and native share the same sky. Soon Atlas will leave the belt behind. Ahead lies the inner system, brighter, hotter, more demanding. But in this moment it glides among ruins, ruins that are also treasures, fragments that tell of beginnings we can scarcely imagine. Each rock is a page of a book we never finished. Each fragment a relic of forgotten potential. Atlas reads them in silence, its own pages written in alien ink. As you close your eyes tonight, picture this scene, a dark comet glowing softly, drifting among countless stones that never became worlds. The silence of the belt is deep, but not empty. It hums with memory, with possibility, with echoes of futures denied. Atlas passes through, and for the first time, the broken cathedral of our solar system hosts a guest from beyond the stars. Imagine walking across a frozen lake at night. The surface looks smooth, endless and silent. Yet beneath your feet, tiny cracks form with each step. The danger isn't the wide expanse of ice, it's the invisible weakness, the fracture too small to notice until it spreads. For Atlas, crossing the asteroid belt is much the same. The greatest threats are not the massive worlds we can see and name, but the dust and pebbles too small to track, too numerous to avoid. Astronomers have long known that the belt is filled with more than rocks the size of mountains. It is alive with fragments, broken pieces from countless collisions. When two asteroids strike, they shatter, scattering dust and rubble into orbit. Over billions of years, the belt has become a slow storm of microscopic debris. These fragments are tiny grains of sand, flecks of stone, but in space, size is not everything. Speed decides power, and Atlas is moving fast, its retrograde orbit turning even dust into bullets. At relative velocities near 100 kilometers per second, a particle no larger than a grain of rice can strike with the energy of an explosive. A pebble the size of your fist could shatter part of the nucleus. Even dust alone can sandblast the surface, eroding away layers of alien ice that have survived since before the sun existed. Each collision is brief, invisible, yet cumulative. What was once smooth becomes rough. What was once sealed becomes fractured. Think of Atlas's coma, its fragile cloud of vapor and dust. This glowing veil makes the comet appear large, even majestic, but also vulnerable. The coma is like a vast sail catching the solar wind. Dust drifting through the belt does not strike only the nucleus it collides, with this extended atmosphere stripping particles away, disturbing the tail, reshaping the glow. To us, far below on Earth, these changes may appear as flickers of brightness or sudden asymmetry. For Atlas, they are tiny wounds, scars of a journey few objects attempt. And yet these wounds are not only threats, they are revelations. Each interaction teaches us something. When the coma ripples, astronomers can trace the density of dust in the belt. When brightness spikes suddenly, it may mark a pebble impact that cracked open a fresh vein of volatile ice. The comet itself becomes a witness, a recorder of the invisible environment it passes through. Like a weather vane turning in unseen wind, Atlas points us toward truths we could not otherwise measure. Pause, and let this image soften into your mind. A silent comet drifts through the dark, wrapped in its glowing veil. Invisible grains of dust strike like soft rain on a roof, each drop leaving no sound we can hear yet together, shaping the melody of erosion. You can almost imagine the comet shivering under the storm, releasing brief sighs of gas, its tail shimmering with new streams of light. History reminds us how fragile comets can be. In 2020, another comet named Atlas, unrelated except by coincidence, grew bright, then fragmented, suddenly fading into nothing but a diffuse cloud. In 2013, Comet Ison promised a spectacular show only to disintegrate near the sun, undone by heat and stress. Even strong nuclei can crumble when too many pressures combine. Dust impacts thermal, cracking, outgassing jets. All these forces conspire. Atlas, carrying chemistry older than our world, faces the same risks. But fragility does not mean weakness. Sometimes stress reveals hidden strength. Consider how impacts may expose fresh layers of ice beneath Atlas's darkened crust. For billions of years, cosmic rays have scarred its surface, changing molecules, toughening its skin. Beneath that armor, untouched material waits pure, pristine, unchanged since the comet's birth. A dust impact might fracture the shell, exposing these ancient ices to sunlight. The result, new jets, sudden brightness, revelations of chemistry unseen before. In this way, even danger becomes discovery. There is a philosophical echo here. We too are shaped by countless small impacts, moments, stresses, unseen grains of time. They erode us, yes, but also reveal layers hidden beneath. What Atlas teaches in its silent passage is that survival is not only about avoidance, sometimes it is about endurance. Sometimes the very forces that threaten us also allow us to reveal our truest selves. Now imagine being close enough to see it. Picture Atlas's tail, millions of kilometers long, suddenly twisting as if brushed by an invisible hand. The solar wind carries charged particles, dust grains, dance through the coma, and light scatters in shimmering arcs. To the naked eye, it would be breathtaking, like watching silk unfurl in a slow breeze. To astronomers, it would be priceless data, each ripple a clue about both the comet and the environment it crosses. The belt itself is full of dust bands created by ancient collisions between large asteroids. These bands form subtle streams of particles spiraling inward toward the Sunday. Atlas, moving retrograde, slices through them like a blade through mist. Each crossing leaves fingerprints in its tail. Each disturbance is an invisible conversation between alien chemistry and local debris. We watch, translate, and learn. Of course, the danger of fragmentation always lingers. If stresses become too great, if impacts weaken the nucleus, if jets spin it too quickly, Atlas could split. From Earth, we would see sudden brightening, then the glow of multiple fragments drifting apart. It would be spectacular, but also tragic. The intact nucleus preserves structure layers and stories written in its ice. Fragmentation scatters those pages, leaving only fragments of sentences to study. Yet even in loss, knowledge comes. Fresh surfaces reveal deeper chemistry. Even in shattering, Atlas would teach. For now, though, survival remains most likely. The odds of catastrophic impact are infinitesimal. The dust is numerous, but the void is vast. Atlas drifts forward, battered perhaps, but not destroyed. Each day that passes is a small victory, another page written in the book of its crossing. And so, as you rest tonight, let this image stay with you, an ancient traveller, gliding silently, unseen dust, brushing its sides, tiny impacts like whispers in the dark. It continues forward, fragile, yet luminous, enduring storms invisible to us. Its journey is uncertain, but its lesson is steady. Sometimes the greatest dangers are the smallest things, and sometimes even in erosion beauty is born. Imagine holding a lantern in the wind. The flame flickers, bends, sometimes almost extinguishes, yet always reshapes itself to the invisible currents around it. In much the same way, Atlas carries its own delicate lantern, its coma, into the solar wind. What was once only a frozen nucleus of ice and rock now becomes something far more dynamic. A plasma laboratory in motion, a natural experiment, drifting across space that we can never build on Earth. The story begins with sunlight. Ultraviolet radiation strikes Atlas's coma, ionizing molecules of carbon dioxide and water vapor, knocking electrons free. Suddenly, what was once neutral gas becomes plasma, a sea of charged particles mingling with dust. Unlike ordinary matter, plasma dances to a different tune. It does not simply follow gravity. It responds to electric and magnetic fields, twisting and shimmering in ways that can appear almost alive. Now, add the solar wind, a constant stream of charged particles flowing outward from the sun at hundreds of kilometers per second. When this wind collides with Atlas's ionized coma, the two plasma environments begin to speak to one another. Astronomers call this mass loading. New cometary ions are picked up by the magnetic field of the solar wind and accelerated, slowing and reshaping the flow. It is like tossing handfuls of sand into a river. The water stumbles, curls, forms new eddies. In the case of Atlas, the eddies are waves of magnetism and plasma rippling invisibly across millions of kilometers. Pause here and let yourself picture it. A comet drifts through space, glowing faintly. Around it, unseen but powerful electromagnetic fields twist, bending the solar wind into curves and spirals. The comet's tail becomes not just light, but structure, shimmering curtains, woven from plasma responsive to every gust of solar weather. It is both fragile and immense, a veil that can stretch for millions of kilometers yet vanish in hours when conditions change. Atlas adds an extra layer of mystery because of its unusual chemistry. Carbon dioxide ions behave differently than the water vapor ions that dominate local comets. Their masses, their responses to fields, their gyrations within magnetic spirals all differ. This means Atlas's plasma environment may produce patterns we have never observed before, instabilities, waves, even disconnections that behave unlike anything catalogued. For scientists, it is as though a new type of instrument has been switched on, one designed by the universe itself. For dreamers, it is like watching the auroras of an alien world flickering invisibly across space. The tail itself carries two distinct identities. The dust tail, slow, curved golden, is shaped by sunlight pushing tiny particles outward. The plasma tail, thin blue, straight points directly away from the sun, sculpted by electromagnetic forces. The two tails overlap and diverge, sometimes smooth, sometimes fractured. When a solar storm passes a coronal mass ejection, a high-speed wind, the plasma tail may twist violently, even break. Imagine watching a silk ribbon caught in a gale, torn apart in one moment, reformed in the next. Such tail disconnections have been seen before in comets like Encke and Ison. For Atlas, the difference lies in its alien composition. The The show may be stranger, more dramatic, its patterns carrying echoes of its birthplace among other stars. From Earth we may only see a faint glow, but through telescopes and instruments the details emerge. Polarization changes in light reveal the orientation of magnetic fields. Spectral lines tell us which ions dominate, which gases are streaming. Variations in brightness hint at turbulence waves moving through the coma like ripples on a pond. Each observation is a piece of music transcribed from plasma's invisible song. Think too of the metaphor. Atlas is not only a comet, it is a teacher. In its plasma environment, we glimpse processes that operate across the cosmos in the atmospheres of stars, in the magnetospheres of planets, in the shocks of supernovae. Here in this single traveler, we watch universal physics unfold at a scale our instruments can touch. It is as though the universe has handed us a miniature, a pocket-sized storm, and said, "Here, study this, and you will understand the greater tempests beyond. For you lying in bed, let this image ease you into calm. Picture the comet as a glowing ember in the darkness. Around it, invisible winds swirl fields, bend particles spiral. It is quiet, serene yet active beyond comprehension. The beauty lies not only in what we see, but in what we imagine. The knowledge that hidden beneath that faint glow is a laboratory more vast than any built by human hands. And there is philosophy here too. Atlas does not choose to be a plasma lab. It does not strive to teach. It simply moves forward, shedding what it cannot keep. In that shedding, in that vulnerability, it becomes a mirror of universal truth. Sometimes in letting go, we reveal structures we could never show otherwise. Sometimes the forces that erode us also illuminate us. Soon Atlas will plunge deeper into the belt, closer to the sun, where solar wind grows, denser storms more frequent. Its plasma interactions will intensify. Its tail will twist and reform. Its chemistry will be tested under conditions harsher than any it has faced before. Whether it fragments or survives, it has already given us this a living experiment, an interstellar sample teaching us about plasma, chemistry, and the fragility of wandering worlds. As you close your eyes tonight, think of Atlas's tail as a thread of light trailing through infinity. That thread bends, twists, sometimes snaps, but always reforms. It is persistence written in plasma beauty, revealed by forces unseen. Atlas drifts onward, not merely as a comet, but as a lantern, a ribbon, a laboratory carried through the dark. And we quiet witnesses on Earth are privileged to watch its flame flicker against the winds of the Sunday. Imagine standing in the quiet of dawn as mist rises from a lake. The air is cool, the sky pale, and a veil of vapor drifts upward, catching the first light of morning. Now stretch that image across millions of kilometers, and you have a sense of Atlas as it draws closer to our Sunday. The comet, once a dark nucleus invisible to human eyes, now wears a tail, a luminous cloak woven from dust, gas, and plasma. It is both a symbol of awakening and a sign of strain, a flag unfurled in triumph and fragility. The mechanics are deceptively simple. Sunlight pushes dust away, scattering it into space like pollen drifting on the wind. The solar wind-charged particles streaming outward from our star ionizes gases in the coma, sweeping them into a narrow, straight ribbon of plasma. The result is a double spectacle, the dust tail curving gently along Atlas's path, and the plasma tail pointing directly away from the Sunday. Together they turn a small, ancient body into one of the most beautiful sights in the cosmos. Yet behind the beauty lies vulnerability. Each particle lost is a piece of Atlas gone forever. The tail is proof of life, but also of erosion. To shine is to diminish. To be seen is to give away what cannot be replaced. For a traveler that has survived billions of years in silence, this sudden shedding is both magnificent and dangerous. From Earth, telescopes reveal the details. The dust tail glows with reflected sunlight, its curve shaped by momentum and gravity. The plasma tail shines in ghostly blue, delicate and sharp flickering as magnetic fields shift. Sometimes, the tail brightens, suddenly responding to bursts of solar activity. Sometimes it kinks, bends, or even snaps away entirely, only to reform hours or days later. Each change is a message from the sun written across Atlas's veil. Pause here and imagine yourself watching. The night is still, the telescope steady. In the eyepiece, Atlas drifts faint but unmistakable. Behind it stretches a ribbon of light as though someone had painted a brushstroke across the sky. That brushstroke is not constant. It ripples, trembles, sometimes grows, sometimes fades. You watch quietly, knowing that you are seeing chemistry older than Earth itself, dissolving into the night. The symbolism is profound. Tails mark comets as wanderers, as visitors, as beings in transition. Without the sun's heat, Atlas would remain dark and invisible, another pebble in the void. But touched by light, it reveals itself shimmering across millions of kilometers. Isn't that true of us as well? We too are revealed when touched by light. Not sunlight perhaps, but the light of attention, of connection, of warmth. Atlas reminds us that beauty often comes from vulnerability, from the willingness to be seen even at the cost of something precious. Astronomers note irregularities in Atlas's activity. Its outgassing is uneven, producing jets that emerge from specific points on the surface. These jets twist the tail into complex structures, streams, and braids of light that shift like fabric in a breeze. Sometimes the tail appears almost alive, writhing as though resisting the invisible forces around it. These moments are scientifically invaluable. They allow us to measure how the solar wind interacts with alien chemistry. But they are also visually mesmerizing, a ballet of forces too vast and subtle to control. There is history here as well. Tails of comets have long been tied to their tails. Ancient Chinese astronomers recorded comets as broom stars sweeping across the sky with luminous brushes. Medieval Europeans feared them as omens, their long bright trails seen as celestial swords. Today we see them with gentler eyes, not as omens of doom but as windows into creation, yet the sense of awe remains. To watch a comet's tail stretch across the heavens is to feel connected to every generation that has ever looked upward and wondered. Atlas's tail is particularly precious because it is alien. The ratio of gases that feed it is unlike any we have studied before. Carbon dioxide dominates, shaping the plasma differently, altering the dust patterns, creating instabilities we have never catalogued. Every shimmer, every ripple carries the fingerprint of another star system. It is as if Atlas's tail were a tapestry woven not in our neighborhood but in a distant galactic quarter, and now carried here for us to see. For scientists, the tail is data. Spectral lines reveal molecular compositions. Polarization studies map grain sizes and textures. Time-lapse imaging shows how solar storms twist and sever plasma streams. But for those lying quietly under the stars, the tail is more than data. It is poetry written across the sky, fleeting and unrepeatable. A sentence spoken once, never again. Imagine, if you will, the comet itself as a traveler carrying a lantern. That lantern sheds sparks as it moves, sparks that drift into the night. Some vanish quickly. Some glow for a while before fading. Each spark is both gift and loss. Atlas cannot keep what it gives, but in the act of giving, it becomes visible, memorable, significant. That is the paradox of the tale. It is both the comet's destruction and its glory. And so, as you prepare for sleep, let this image calm you. A ribbon of light streaming endlessly across the night sky, woven from dust, woven from ions, woven from the breath of a world that once circled another star. The ribbon bends and curves, twists and reforms, always moving, always changing, yet always beautiful. It is fragile, yes, but it endures long enough for us to see, to learn, to marvel. Atlas carries its tail as a reminder that impermanence can be luminous. That endings, when illuminated, become spectacles of beauty. That to be seen even briefly is worth the cost. In its shimmering veil we see not just alien chemistry but ourselves, the way we too leave trails, luminous or subtle, as we move through life. The comet continues forward, its tail unfurling behind it like a banner in the wind. Ahead lies greater heat, greater risk, greater wonder. But for now its tail streams, quietly woven by light, fragile yet radiant, a whisper from the stars carried across our sky. Imagine you are sitting by a fire, listening to an elder recount stories of travelers who once passed through the village. Some stayed briefly, some vanished quickly, but each left behind whispers that shaped memory. Our solar system has its own such stories. Atlas is not the first visitor from beyond, though it is the newest. To understand its meaning, we must remember its predecessors, Oumuamua and Borisov, the other wanderers who drifted into our skies carrying messages from distant homes. The first was Oumuamua, discovered in 2017. Unlike Atlas, it showed no glowing coma, no shimmering tail. It was a dark, elongated object tumbling as it passed, its brightness rising and falling like the pulse of a heartbeat. Astronomers debated its shape. Was it a cigar, a shard, a pancake? Its trajectory was hyperbolic, confirming it came from beyond, but its silence puzzled us. Why no tail? Why no outgassing? Some suggested it was a fragment of rock stripped bare by cosmic rays. Others whispered bolder ideas. Perhaps it was a probe, a relic of intelligence, a sail drifting between stars. To this day, Oumuamua remains a mystery, a riddle that refuses to be solved. 2 years later came Borisov, a very different story. Where Oumuamua was quiet and strange, Borisov was familiar. It glowed like a typical comet, releasing gases forming tails. Its chemistry echoed our own comets, though, with subtle differences, more carbon monoxide than most, hinting at a colder birthplace. Borisov reassured us. It proved that interstellar comets could look like the ones we already knew, carrying the same fundamental ingredients of ice and dust. It was alien, yes, but also relatable, a cousin rather than a complete stranger. Now comes Atlas, the third chapter in this unfolding narrative. It carries traits of both predecessors. Like Borisov, it grows a coma and tails breathing into the sunlight. But like Oumuamua, it challenges expectations, its chemistry skewed, its orbit unusual, its retrograde path daring. In Atlas, we see continuity and surprise, a reminder that interstellar visitors arrive not as copies of one another, but as unique individuals, each bearing its own story. Pause and reflect on how extraordinary this island. For centuries, humanity watched the skies without realizing such visitors were even possible. Comets were assumed to be local, tied to our sun's far-flung reservoirs. The idea of objects drifting between stars was the realm of theory. Then, within less than a decade, 3 have arrived. Oumuamua, Borisov, Atlas. A pattern is emerging, one that suggests the galaxy is not silent at all. It is busy sending emissaries across the void. Perhaps such wanderers have always come unnoticed before telescopes became sharp enough to catch them. Perhaps they have always brushed through like strangers walking quietly past our door. The parallels deepen when we consider their symbolism. Oumuamua was mystery embodied, challenging us to expand imagination. Borisov was reassurance, affirming that alien does not always mean incomprehensible. Atlas is both challenge and comfort, a comet that behaves familiarly yet speaks in a foreign chemical tongue. Together they form a chorus, 3 voices from the stars, each harmonizing differently but all reminding us that we are part of something larger than the solar system alone. Cultures have always told stories of wanderers. In Norse myth, there are travelers who arrive from distant realms carrying riddles. In Greek tales, strangers at the gates often turned out to be gods in disguise, testing hospitality. Atlas, Borisov, Oumuamua. These are our modern wanderers, cosmic strangers, whose presence tests our curiosity, our science, our imagination. We may not know their full stories, but in hosting them we become richer. Astronomers compare data between them, searching for patterns. Oumuamua had no coma, perhaps, because it had lost volatile ices during its long drift. Borisov carried abundant gases still fresh, suggesting it had been ejected more recently from its system. Atlas sits between, showing both vitality and strangeness. Its CO₂-rich chemistry could mean it was forged under unique conditions, or perhaps altered during its billions of years in interstellar dark. Each visitor adds a data point, a clue, a piece of a puzzle spanning the galaxy. There is comfort in imagining many more to come. Perhaps in 10 years we will detect a 4th. Perhaps in 50, we will chart dozens each bearing signatures of different nurseries. One might reveal sulfur-rich ices, another metallic grains, and other molecules we have never dreamed of. Together they will form a map, a chemical atlas of the galaxy itself, each comet a pin marking where and how matter was shaped. Atlas, true to its name, may be the beginning of this grand chart, the first labelled continent in a new cosmic geography. Let this thought lull you: we are not isolated. The solar system is not a sealed bubble. Matter flows between stars. Visitors arrive unbidden. The galaxy is alive with exchange, each star system both giving and receiving. If comets like Atlas carry not only chemistry but complex molecules, perhaps even precursors to life, then life itself may not be isolated either. It may be part of a wider circulation, seeds carried across light years waiting for fertile ground. As you close your eyes, imagine the three wanderers as a procession. First Oumuamua, silent, enigmatic, slipping past quickly. Then Borisov, glowing, familiar, waving a tale of comfort. And now Atlas, luminous yet strange, trailing veils of alien breath. They pass through one by one, each fleeting, each unforgettable. And you, lying quietly under Earth's sky, a witness to a story that will only grow richer with time. Atlas does not travel alone in meaning. It is part of a lineage, a history of wanderers that connect us to the wider galaxy. In watching it, we remember the others. In remembering them, we prepare for those yet to come. The night sky, once imagined as unchanging, is now a doorway. Visitors step through, leave gifts of knowledge, and depart. The silence they leave behind is filled with wonder. Picture a fragile vase carried for centuries, passed through countless hands without breaking. Now imagine setting it near a fire, where heat seeps into its cracks, where the pressure builds unseen. One day the vase may shatter, not because it was weak, but because its long journey has finally caught up to it. So it may be with Atlas. For all its resilience, the interstellar wanderer is fragile at heart, a body of ice and dust held together loosely by gravity. If stresses mount, solar heat, outgassing jets, impacts with dust, Atlas could break apart, scattering across the heavens in a final display. Cometary breakups are not rare. In fact, they are almost expected for long, fragile travelers. Astronomers remember comet Shoemaker-Levy 9, which fractured into dozens of pieces before plunging into Jupiter in 1994, each fragment slamming into the giant planet in fiery explosions. They recall Comet Ison in 2013, which grew bright as it approached the Sun only to disintegrate in the glare, leaving nothing behind but a fading smear of dust. In 2020, another comet, coincidentally named Atlas, brightened rapidly, then crumbled into fragments too small to be seen. Survival is never guaranteed. The act of shining itself is often the act of unraveling. For Atlas, the risks are many. Its unusual chemistry may mean it contains layers of volatile ices that react suddenly when exposed. Its retrograde path increases its encounters with dust, and small impacts, each blow capable of opening fractures. Uneven jets of gas can spin the nucleus, stressing it like a toy top, wobbling before collapse. Heat from the sun penetrates deeper each day, thawing ices that have been frozen since before Earth existed. Any of these forces alone may be manageable. Together they may be too much. And yet, if Atlas shatters, the sight will be unforgettable. From Earth, telescopes would see its brightness spike suddenly as new surfaces are exposed. Dust would flood outward, reflecting sunlight in a grand outburst. Multiple fragments might appear, each glowing faintly, trailing their own tails like children splitting from a parent. For weeks or months, the sky would carry a spectacle, a cloud of alien debris glowing softly against the stars. It would be a funeral and a festival all at once, a farewell painted in light. Pause, and let yourself imagine that view. A comet once singular now, a cluster of jewels scattered across the night, each fragment drifting, each tail glowing together, forming a constellation of impermanence. For astronomers, this would be bittersweet. The intact nucleus carries secret structure, layering chemistry preserved. Once broken, the story becomes harder to read, its pages torn apart. But for poets and dreamers, fragmentation is revelation. In breaking, Atlas would multiply, offering not one trail but many, not one voice but a chorus. There is precedent for beauty in destruction. The Perseid meteor shower, which paints our August skies with falling stars, comes from debris shed by Comet Swift-Tuttle. The Leonids, known for their dazzling storms, come from fragments of Tempel-Tuttle. Even the Geminids, one of the strongest showers, are tied to an asteroid that behaves like a spent comet. In this way, cometary death often becomes earthly wonder. If Atlas were to shatter, its dust might one day drift into our skies, streaking as meteors carrying whispers of another star onto our world. But perhaps we should not imagine destruction only as loss. In many cultures, endings are seen as transformations. The phoenix burns and is reborn. The Hindu cycle of creation and dissolution sees universes themselves dissolve only to form again. In Japanese aesthetics, the concept of mono no aware honors the beauty of impermanence, the poignancy of fleeting things. Atlas, should it fragment, would embody this truth. Its shattering would not erase its story. It would become another chapter, another reminder that even endings can illuminate the night. Scientists would seize the opportunity. Fresh fragments reveal fresh material ices, untouched by billions of years of cosmic radiation, pristine samples of another system's chemistry. Each spectrum captured would deepen our knowledge. The loss of the whole would mean the gain of detail. It is the paradox of science. Sometimes to understand we must let go of wholeness and study the pieces. Atlas broken would still be a teacher. For you lying quietly, the thought may feel somber. A comet older than Earth undone in weeks, scattered forever. Yet there is comfort in imagining that even in breaking, Atlas would leave beauty behind. Its dust would drift, its tails would spread, its fragments would glow. The sky would not darken but brighten. Its farewell would be luminous, a gift rather than a wound. And perhaps too there is a lesson for us. We often fear breaking our failures, our endings, our losses. But Atlas reminds us that breaking can also be giving, that in scattering we may leave trails for others to follow. That impermanence is not defeat but transformation. A shattered comet becomes meteors. A faded glow becomes memory. An ending becomes another kind of beginning. So as you drift towards sleep, let the image soothe you. Atlas gliding through the belt, fragile yet steadfast. Perhaps it will endure emerging intact. Perhaps it will fracture scattering jewels across the night. Either way, it will leave beauty behind, beauty shaped by billions of years and shared with us in a fleeting moment. The traveler may break, but the story does not. The story becomes many stories shimmering across the sky, carried by dust into dreams. Imagine a bird flying across a wide valley, intending only to pass through. But the wind shifts, and instead of leaving it, circles, caught by unseen currents, tethered gently to the land it had never meant to visit. What if Atlas, our interstellar wanderer, were to experience something similar? What if instead of continuing outward forever, it became a captive guest of the sun, bound to our system in an orbit that might last for millennia for now? Mathematics says this will not happen. Atlas moves too fast, its hyperbolic eccentricity too high. The sun's gravity cannot hold it. It will enter flare and depart. Yet the cosmos loves complexity, and sometimes improbable events occur. A gravitational nudge at the right moment, perhaps from Jupiter's massive bulk, or from an asymmetric jet of gas erupting from the nucleus, could slow it just enough. A loss of energy, a shift in trajectory, and Atlas might no longer be an exile. It might become a resident. Astronomers have long considered such possibilities. In theory, interstellar objects could be captured. If they lose speed through interactions, they may settle into bound orbits, joining the populations of comets we already know. Some speculate that many of the comets in our Oort cloud may once have been interstellar visitors slowed and adopted long ago. If so, then Atlas would not be the first guest welcomed into our family, only the first we recognized in real time. Imagine what that would mean. Instead of a fleeting passage, we would have centuries to study it. Each return to the inner system would bring another chance to measure its chemistry, to watch its tails, to map its changes. We could send probes, perhaps even bring samples back to Earth. Atlas would no longer be a traveler glimpsed once and lost forever, but a companion in the long story of our skies. Pause, and let that image soften in your thoughts. A comet from another star now circling our own, becoming part of our seasonal rhythms. Children might grow up knowing its name, watching its returns as their grandparents once watched Halley's. It would no longer be a stranger. It would be ours not in ownership, but in belonging. Yet, there is a poetic tension here. To capture Atlas would mean to change its destiny. Freedom would become bondage. Its line of infinite travel would collapse into a circle repeating endlessly. For us, this would be fortune, knowledge preserved, mystery prolonged. For Atlas, it would be limitation. The paradox lies in our yearning. We long to hold what is fleeting, even though its fleeting nature is part of its beauty. Consider how a single jet of outgassing might alter fate. If sunlight strikes a crack at just the right angle, a burst of vapor may push the nucleus like a tiny thruster. Most of the time, such thrusts change nothing significant, but once in a great while, they could slow or redirect a path. Comets are not inert, they are active, restless, always shedding. In those unpredictable outbursts lies the potential for transformation. Atlas could, in principle, shift from wanderer to captive, with nothing more than a puff of alien breath. History offers parallels. Halley's comet has circled us for millennia, recorded in Chinese, Babylonian, and European chronicles alike. Shoemaker Levy 9, once a free body, was captured by Jupiter's gravity before breaking apart. Even small asteroids are sometimes trapped temporarily by Earth, becoming mini-moons before drifting away again. The heavens remind us that capture and release are part of the dance. Nothing is entirely free. Nothing is entirely bound. What would it mean philosophically if Atlas stayed? Perhaps it would remind us that even wanderers can find homes, that even exiles can be welcomed. Perhaps it would tell us that belonging is not always about origin, but about presence, about choosing, or in this case, being chosen to remain. Its alien chemistry would not matter. Its foreign birth would not exclude it. In our skies, it would be family. But there is also comfort in knowing this is unlikely. Part of Atlas's allure lies in its impermanence. We cherish it more because it will leave. Its trajectory reminds us that some beauty cannot be held, some stories cannot be repeated. Atlas, by leaving, stays true to its nature, a messenger of the galaxy, not a servant of one star. Its gift is fleetingness. Its lesson is transience. And yet, as you drift towards sleep, imagine both futures. In one Atlas, fragments scattering into dust. In another Atlas remains circling our sun, a guest turned resident. Both outcomes carry meaning. Both are beautiful. In one, impermanence shines. In the other, continuity glows. We do not control which will unfold. We only watch, marvel, and learn. So let the thought linger gently. An interstellar comet, once destined for infinity, slowed just enough to stay. Perhaps in some alternate universe, that future is real. Perhaps in another history, another sky, Atlas shines. Each century its return a promise kept. In our world it may not happen, but the imagining itself is enough to lull us. For in imagination all paths are possible. Atlas glides onward tonight, still free, still unbound. Whether it remains or departs, it has already given us what we need. A reminder that the cosmos is rich with travelers, that home and exile are fluid, that beauty lies as much in what leaves as in what stays. Imagine sitting by a window late at night, the world outside quiet, when you see a lantern moving across the dark. At first you think it is a firefly, then perhaps a drifting ember. But a small part of you wonders, what if it is something else, something with intention? That is how Atlas feels to some. Though the evidence points to a natural comet, its unusual chemistry, its retrograde orbit and its sudden arrival stir whispers. What if Atlas is not entirely what it seems? Speculation about alien craft is not new. When Oumuamua was discovered in 2017, its strange, elongated shape and lack of coma sparked theories. Could it be a light sail? Could it be a probe drifting silently, powered not by engines but by momentum? Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb even argued the possibility in public, suggesting we keep our minds open to what our instruments cannot yet explain. Though most scientists lean toward natural explanations, the imagination rarely settles for caution. Atlas, arriving only a few years later, naturally inherits this aura of mystery. Its orbit feels unusual. Retrograde motion is rare, especially for interstellar comets. It is like a traveler choosing the hardest road instead of the easiest. Its coma, rich in carbon dioxide, feels alien compared to the water-dominated signatures we expect. Its tails ripple unpredictably, sometimes flaring in sudden outbursts. All of these could be explained by natural processes, volatile ices, jets, the randomness of solar heating. Yet to the curious mind, they leave space for possibility. Pause and let your thoughts wander. What if Atlas were more than ice and dust? What if its nucleus hid structure, not random, but designed cavities, arranged like chambers, jets aligned like thrusters, chemistry chosen for resilience? From afar it would look like a comet. To the naked eye, indistinguishable. But to those who imagine it might be a messenger sent, not by accident but by intention, carrying not only chemistry but meaning, cultures have long told stories of travelers bearing messages. In Polynesian lore, canoes crossed vast oceans guided by stars carrying seeds and stories to new islands. In ancient texts, celestial visitors were often described as gods descending with gifts or warnings. What if Atlas is a canoe of another kind? A vessel not of wood but of ice, not across oceans but across light years. Some envision probes left adrift, silent beacons seeded by civilizations we may never meet. They would not send radio signals nor flashlights. They would simply pass, designed to survive eons, letting chance carry them to other stars. If Atlas were such a craft, its silence would be the point. Its chemistry could be camouflage, its tail an unintentional veil. To us it would look natural until curiosity uncovered a secret. And yet science reminds us to stay grounded. The simplest explanation is often the truest. Atlas behaves like a comet. It sublimates. It forms tails. It responds to sunlight and solar wind exactly as physics predicts. No radio signals have been detected, no anomalies beyond chemistry. To declare it artificial without evidence would be premature. But the whispers themselves serve a purpose. They remind us that we are not only scientists, but storytellers, dreamers, beings who look at the unknown and ask, what if? For you lying in bed, let this speculation soothe rather than alarm. Think of Atlas as a lantern in the night sky and let your imagination drift. Perhaps it is only ice and dust, and that truth itself is wondrous, a fragment of another star brought to us by chance. Or perhaps it is more a vessel of intention carrying stories across the dark. Either way, the beauty lies not only in the comet but in our response. To dream is to connect, to wonder is to awaken. Philosophers often say that questions matter more than answers. Atlas embodies this. Whether natural or not, it invites us to ask, could civilizations send messengers of ice instead of metal? Could meaning hide in chemistry, in ratios of gases, in the very way a comet breaks apart? Could silence itself be a language, a way of speaking across time too vast for words? History offers echoes. In the 19th century, astronomer Percival Lowell imagined canals on Mars, artificial works of a dying civilization. He was wrong, in fact, yet his ideas inspired generations, fueling exploration and art. Similarly, speculation about Atlas, even if proven natural, expands our imagination. It teaches us to see comets not only as rocks but as possibilities, as canvases, where human curiosity paints futures. So as you drift toward dreams, picture Atlas as both things at once, a natural wanderer and a whispered vessel. In one vision, it is a frozen relic shaped by chaos, shedding its ancient chemistry into our skies. In another, it is a craft deliberate and mysterious, its silence intentional, its presence meaningful. Both visions soothe, for both connect us to the wider galaxy. The truth, whatever it is, does not diminish the wonder. A comet from another star is miracle enough. A vessel from another mind would be miracle greater still. But in either case, we are reminded of the same lesson: we are not alone, not isolated. The universe is filled with stories, some written in dust, some whispered in speculation. Atlas, by arriving, becomes part of both. Imagine standing in a garden at dusk. Fireflies drift through the air, each glowing briefly. And for a moment you wonder, are they sparks or spirits or something stranger? Then, as you look more closely, you see the pattern, the rhythm of their blinking, the way each one responds to another. What seemed mysterious becomes clear through careful observation. In much the same way, Atlas invites both awe and speculation. But beneath the whispers of alien craft, the science holds steady. Careful measurement, cautious analysis, and patient observation reveal a picture rooted in nature. Astronomers begin with light. Telescopes like Gemini South, the Very Large Telescope, and the James Webb Space Telescope split Atlas's glow into spectra, thin rainbows of detail. Each molecule absorbs and emits light in distinct ways, leaving fingerprints across the bands. In those lines, scientists see carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, traces of water and dust grains, scattering starlight. No metals arranged with precision, no signals pulsing in code, just the chemistry of ices and gases sublimating under sunlight. Alien, yes, but alien in the sense of origin, not design. Radio antennas add another layer. Sensitive dishes listen for transmissions, searching for artificial tones or repeating signals. From Oumuamua they heard nothing. From Borisov, nothing. From Atlas again, silence. Not a silence that suggests secrecy, but one that matches expectation. Comets are quiet wanderers, speaking only in light and dust. The absence of radio voices is not disappointment. It is confirmation that Atlas is what it appears to be, a comet breathing into the void. Mathematics, too, speaks clearly. Atlas's orbit matches the laws of celestial mechanics without deviation. Its hyperbolic path requires no hidden thrust, no guiding intelligence. The jets of gas that shape its coma and tail behave chaotically, sometimes brightening, sometimes fading, but always within the bounds of physics. Each flare corresponds to sunlight striking a fissure, each twist of the tail to magnetic turbulence in the solar wind. There is no evidence of control, only the graceful inevitability of natural processes. Pause here and breathe with that thought. Speculation is a fire-warming imagination, but science is water-cooling, steadying, balancing. Together they form harmony. Atlas lives in that harmony, a natural body that inspires dreams, a comet whose alien chemistry excites wonder, yet whose behavior reassures us with predictability. Still, even in its naturalness, Atlas teaches. Its carbon dioxide, rich coma, expands our understanding of how comets form in other systems. Its retrograde orbit reminds us that trajectories can be wild-shaped by chance encounters with giant planets in distant neighborhoods. Its plasma interactions reveal how solar wind engages with unfamiliar ions. Each discovery adds to our knowledge, widening our view of the galaxy's diversity. Think of a seashell picked up on a beach. It may not be carved by human hands, but it is no less wondrous. The ridges tell of waves, the colors of minerals, the shape of its inhabitants' life. Atlas is that seashell carried across cosmic tides to our shore. We do not need it to be artificial for it to hold meaning. Its natural patterns are message enough. Scientists approach it like archaeologists at a dig. Each fragment of data is a shard of pottery, each measurement a brushstroke clearing dust. Slowly, patiently, they reconstruct the story. A comet born billions of years ago, in the thick disk of the galaxy, ejected by chance, wandering through interstellar night until gravity guided it here. The story is not simple, but it is coherent. And in that coherence lies comfort. Speculation has its place, though. It keeps our minds alert, prevents complacency, ensures we remain open to surprises. Without imagination, science stagnates. But without science, imagination floats untethered. Together they create balance, the dream of what might be grounded by the clarity of what island Atlas embodies that balance. It whispers of possibility, but sings with evidence. For those who watch, the act of observation itself becomes soothing. Each night, astronomers track its brightness, noting subtle changes. Each spectrum captured, adds a line to the comet's biography. Each radio silence confirms its quiet. The work is steady, methodical, like tending a garden or keeping a diary. And yet beneath the data lies wonder, for every number is a window into something older than Earth itself. Consider too what this means for the future. If we can study Atlas in such detail, we can study the next interstellar visitor even more deeply. Technology will sharpen, telescopes will expand, perhaps spacecraft will be launched to intercept. One day we may hold fragments of such a comet in our hands, analyzing isotopes that formed around another star. Atlas is the rehearsal, the opening act, the gentle introduction to a new era of astronomy where the galaxy itself delivers samples to our door. So let this thought soothe you as you drift. Atlas is not a machine, not a probe, not a lantern built by unknown minds. It is something quieter, older, perhaps even more profound, a natural fragment of another star system shaped by forces universal and ancient. Its silence is not secrecy, but honesty. Its light is not coded, but pure. Its lesson is that the cosmos is full of variety, and that variety itself is enough to inspire awe. As you close your eyes, imagine Atlas drifting calmly, its tails trailing softly behind. No engines hum, no signals pulse, no secret design hides beneath the surface. Only ice sublimating into vapor dust, scattering into light chemistry unfolding under the warmth of a distant Sunday, simple, natural, beautiful. And in that simplicity lies its gift, a reminder that nature itself is wondrous enough that the universe speaks not only in mysteries but in truths that can be measured, understood, and cherished. Atlas moves on steady and silent, and we watching from Earth are comforted by the balance imagination kept alive by science wonder, deepened by clarity. A natural body, a fragile traveler, a story that reminds us the galaxy is both stranger and more familiar than we dream. Imagine being awakened not by noise but by silence, by a sudden awareness that something rare has entered your life, something that will not last long. That is the feeling Atlas brings. It is not a comet that threatens us, not a body on a collision course, but a reminder. Its presence whispers we live in a galaxy alive with wanderers, and we are only beginning to notice them. Atlas is not just a guest. It is a wake-up call. For centuries, humanity believed comets came only from our own reservoirs, the Kuiper belt, the Oort cloud. That view made the universe seem more contained, as though everything we studied was part of a familiar family. Then came Oumuamua Borisov, and now Atlas. 3 interstellar objects in less than a decade. Suddenly the galaxy feels busier, more connected, filled with traffic we had overlooked. What seemed rare is perhaps common. We simply lacked the eyes to see. This realization matters. Each visitor carries chemistry from another system, hints of processes beyond our Sunday. They are not just curiosities, they are data points, messengers, samples delivered to us for free. To ignore them would be like ignoring letters sent across oceans unopened and unread. Atlas, by arriving, reminds us to pay attention, to sharpen our instruments, to prepare for the many more that may follow. Pause here and let the thought sink in. We are at the beginning of a new chapter in astronomy. Telescopes now sweep the skies, nightly discovering faint travelers almost as soon as they arrive. Within decades, larger surveys will detect dozens, perhaps hundreds of interstellar comets. Each will be unique. Some will resemble Atlas with strange chemistry. Others may look like Borisov, reassuringly familiar. A few may be silent rocks, Oumuamua-like, raising more questions than answers. The wake-up call is not that they exist, but that we must be ready to learn from them. The dream extends further. What if one day we could send spacecraft to meet such visitors in flight? Missions like ESA's Comet Interceptor are being designed with this very goal: to launch, wait, and then spring into action when a new comet is discovered. Atlas arrives too soon for such missions, but it proves the idea urgent. To touch a comet from another star, to hold its grains and measure its isotopes, would be like shaking hands with another solar system, a gesture across the void, intimate and profound. For now we rely on distant instruments, watching Atlas from Earth and from telescopes in orbit. Even at that distance it tells us much. its CO₂-rich breath hints at the diversity of planetary nurseries. Its retrograde orbit teaches us about the violent dynamics that eject such bodies into interstellar space. Its plasma interactions remind us how universal physics plays out differently with alien ingredients. Each lesson is a seed of preparation showing us what to expect when the next visitor arrives. There is also a cultural dimension to the wake-up call. Comets have always stirred imagination, omens, signs, portents. Today we view them with science, yet the awe remains. Atlas tells us not only that the galaxy is alive with travelers, but also that our place within it is smaller and more connected than we imagined. The sky is not just ours, it is a crossroads. We share it with wanderers that began their journeys before Earth had oceans before life took its first breath. Think of the symbolism. A knock at the door, not demanding entry but reminding you that you are part of a larger community. Atlas is that knock. It does not linger, it does not intrude, but it reminds us that the house we call the solar system is part of a neighborhood, and the neighborhood is vast. The wake-up call is gentle but insistent. Do not imagine isolation. Do not believe in stillness. The galaxy flows and we are within its stream, and perhaps the wake-up call is also inward. Atlas tells us that time is fleeting, that visitors pass quickly. If we want to learn, we must be attentive. If we want to understand, we must prepare. Just as comets teach astronomers urgency, so too can they teach us in our own lives. Opportunities appear, linger briefly, and then vanish. The lesson is not to panic, but to stay awake, to be ready when wonder passes by. Some speculate about the long term. If interstellar comets are common, then interstellar debris must be even more abundant. Fragments of planets, shards of collisions, perhaps even relics of life itself, may drift between stars. Atlas may be the beginning of a new science, interstellar archaeology, the study of what other systems leave behind. If so, then its arrival is not only a wake-up call, but the first step into a new field, one that will expand our sense of belonging in the cosmos. So as you lie back tonight, let this thought soothe you. Atlas is not here to frighten, but to remind. Its glow is a nudge to our imagination, its passage a call to our curiosity. We do not know when the next visitor will arrive, or what shape it will take. But we know this: we live in a galaxy alive with motion, and to watch it is to be awake to wonder. Atlas, silent and fragile, drifts onward. Whether it survives the asteroid belt or not, it has already fulfilled its role. It has knocked on our door, and we have answered. The wake-up call has been heard. The question now is how we will respond: by dreaming, by preparing. Imagine standing before a quiet river at twilight. The water flows steadily, carrying leaves, branches, and reflections of the sky. Some of what drifts downstream is familiar, fallen from the trees you know. Some comes from far away, washed in from mountains you cannot see. Watching the river, you realize you too are part of its current, your breath joining the mist that hovers above it. Atlas is like that river's leaf, foreign, carried by currents of gravity, but in its drifting presence it mirrors our own place in the grand flow of the galaxy. For much of history, humanity believed itself central. The sun circled Earth, the stars were fixed jewels, the heavens were changeless. Then one discovery after another pushed us outward. Earth is not the center. The sun is but one star, the Milky Way is but one galaxy. Now Atlas adds another gentle reminder. We are not even alone in our own skies. The matter of other systems flows through ours, silent travelers weaving us into a larger whole. Atlas mirrors this truth simply by existing here. Its chemistry speaks of another nursery, its trajectory of another star. When it exhales carbon dioxide, when its tails shimmer, it tells us you are not isolated. You are part of a galactic ecosystem where matter drifts freely exchanged between suns like gifts between neighbors. To study Atlas is to study ourselves, for the same currents that carried it may one day carry fragments of us, outward seeds of Earth, drifting into other skies. Pause here and let this image ease you. You are not separate from the galaxy. The iron in your blood was forged in stars, the calcium in your bones in ancient explosions. The oxygen you breathe comes from processes written into cosmic history. Atlas, drifting silently through the asteroid belt, is made of the same elements. Alien in detail, familiar in essence. Its presence mirrors our origin. We too are wanderers born from ancient chaos. Astronomers marvel at this reflection. By comparing Atlas's chemistry with local comets, they see both difference and kinship. The proportions of gases vary, but the ingredients are shared. Water, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, dust. No matter the nursery, the recipes rhyme. The galaxy writes in variations on the same script, each system producing its own dialect, yet all comprehensible. Atlas's voice is accented, but we recognize the words. The mirror shows us not division, but connection. Think of how rivers mingle. One stream carries clay, another sand, another minerals. Yet when they meet, they flow together, enriching one another. So too with comets. Local or interstellar, they are part of one galactic circulation. Matter drifts outward, is captured, is released again. The process never ends. Atlas passing through our skies is not an intrusion, but a continuation of this flow. We are riverbank observers, reminded that we too are carried in the current. Cultures across the world have long seen mirrors in the heavens. The Maya imagined comets as fiery serpents, symbols of transformation. The Greeks saw them as hair streaming from the heads of celestial beings. The Chinese described them as guest stars, visitors reflecting the harmony or disruption of the heavens. Each interpretation reveals humanity looking upward and seeing itself reflected. Atlas continues this tradition. It is not merely ice and dust. It is a mirror. In its light we see our questions, our fragility, our longing for connection. Consider the timing. Atlas appears in an age when humanity is reaching outward more than ever. Telescopes search exoplanets. Spacecraft explore asteroids and moons. Signals are sent into the void. And into this moment comes a visitor from another system, reminding us that the galaxy is not only something we chase, it also comes to us. It is as if the universe were saying, you are part of this story already. You do not need to wait for contact. The river flows both ways. Philosophically, the mirror Atlas offers is profound. We often wonder whether life exists elsewhere, whether intelligence has arisen beyond Earth. Atlas cannot answer those questions directly. Yet by existing, it suggests a framework. If matter travels freely between systems, then so do the seeds of possibility. If Earth received ingredients carried by such comets, perhaps other worlds have too. In this way, Atlas reflects both our uniqueness and our commonality. We are singular beings, but we are also participants in a shared galactic experiment. For you listening in the stillness, let this truth bring calm. The universe is vast, yes, but not indifferent. It connects itself in subtle ways. A comet born near another star drifts here, its chemistry entering our instruments, its light entering our eyes, its story entering our dreams. You are not outside that story, you are inside it. You breathe its air, carry its atoms, think with its stardust. Atlas is a mirror showing you not distance but belonging. Soon Atlas will leave again, continuing its path outward. It will not stay to orbit, will not become a permanent companion, but its brief presence is enough. Like a reflection in still water, it need not last forever to reveal truth. We look, we recognize, we learn. Then it fades, but the insight remains. So as you close your eyes tonight, picture Atlas drifting with its luminous tails, fragile and glowing. See it as more than a comet. See it as a mirror held gently by the galaxy itself, angled toward us for just a moment, reflecting who we are and where we belong. We are wanderers, we are children of stars, and we are not alone in the current. Atlas reminds us, the river flows, and we flow with it. Imagine holding a thread between your fingers. It is thin, delicate, and yet when woven into fabric, it connects countless others to form something enduring. Atlas is such a thread. Alone it seems fragile, a small nucleus of ice and dust, a faint glow across the heavens. Yet in its passage through our solar system, it weaves itself into a larger tapestry, one that stretches across generations and galaxies. Whether Atlas survives intact or shatters into fragments, its contribution ensures the cosmic thread remains unbroken. From the moment it was discovered, Atlas began teaching us. Its hyperbolic orbit revealed interstellar origins. Its chemistry showed us new possibilities for cometary birthplaces. Its tails displayed interactions between alien ices and the sun's winds. Even if Atlas were to fade tomorrow, those lessons would endure written in data and memory. Every spectrum, every light curve, every ripple observed adds to humanity's record, a gift that outlasts the comet itself. But Atlas leaves more than numbers. It leaves dust. Each particle drifting from its coma becomes part of our solar system's story. Some may continue inward spiraling slowly under the influence of sunlight and gravity, perhaps joining the zodiacal cloud of faint interplanetary dust. Others may scatter outward, mingling with local debris, altering the balance subtly but permanently. In this way, Atlas becomes part of us. A few of its particles may even one day fall toward Earth, burning as meteors, tiny streaks of alien matter entering our skies unnoticed, by most yet marking the continuation of an ancient exchange. Pause here and let yourself reflect. Atlas is not the first interstellar traveler, nor will it be the last. But in its brief visit, it reminds us that cosmic history is continuous. Stars are born, planets form, comets are ejected, wanderers cross the gulfs. Each step adds a strand to the thread connecting past to present, present to future. Atlas is not an isolated event. It is part of a chain linking Oumuamua and Borisov before it, and countless visitors yet to come. The thread stretches backward beyond memory and forward beyond imagination. This continuity offers comfort. In our own lives, we often worry about impermanence, what fades, what ends, what slips through our hands. Atlas mirrors this fear. Its tail is loss made visible, its glow the result of constant giving away. Yet even in that loss there is connection. What it sheds becomes part of something larger. Its impermanence feeds continuity. Its fragility sustains the thread. Astronomers often speak of legacy data. Observations captured today may not reveal their full meaning for decades. When instruments improve, when theories advance, old data finds new life. Atlas's spectra, archived carefully, will outlast the comet itself. Perhaps 100 years from now, new scientists will revisit the files, applying techniques not yet invented, uncovering truths we cannot see. Atlas, long gone into interstellar night, will still speak. Its thread will still be woven into human knowledge. Cultures across time have sought such continuity. Ancient storytellers wove myths so their voices could echo beyond their lifetimes. Builders raised monuments so their names would endure in stone. Atlas does the same, though, without intention. Its legacy is not chosen but inevitable. Dust becomes part of the solar system. Data becomes part of human memory. Wonder becomes part of our imagination. It is not just a visitor. It is a link in the unbroken chain of cosmic story. Think of the Milky Way itself as a loom. Stars are the weavers, galaxies, the patterns, comets, the threads that move between. Each visitor carries color from one part of the fabric to another, enriching the whole. Atlas, with its alien chemistry, is a bright stitch sewn into our corner of the tapestry. When it departs, the pattern remains altered subtly but permanently. There is also humility in this vision. Atlas is not grand by cosmic standards. It is no planet, no star. Yet its meaning arises from connection, not size. We too are small, and yet our stories endure when they are woven into something larger. Communities, histories, shared dreams. Atlas teaches that to matter is not always to dominate. Sometimes it is simply to contribute to the thread. As you rest, let this truth comfort you. Even fragile things can endure through continuity. Even fleeting presences can leave lasting marks. Atlas will be gone from our skies in months, forgotten by casual eyes. But it will remain in data archives, in scientific papers, in the imagination of those who watched. Its particles may remain in our solar system for millions of years. Its lessons will remain in our understanding forever. The thread does not break, and so the cosmic story continues. Oumuamua opened the chapter of mystery. Borisov added the chapter of familiarity. Atlas writes, a chapter of diversity and fragility. Others will follow, each adding color, each tying the thread tighter. Together, they remind us that the galaxy is not silent, not still, but alive with exchange. The next visitor may already be on its way, invisible, now drifting in the dark. When it arrives, we will remember Atlas, and through that memory we will see continuity. Each comet is not alone, but part of a greater flow, like waves on an endless sea. Atlas will leave, but its story remains woven. And you, lying quietly tonight, are part of that weaving too. For in listening and imagining, you add your own thread, joining the vast, unbroken fabric of wonder that binds us all to the stars. Imagine walking into a room where voices have been speaking for hours, days, centuries, voices you cannot hear directly, but whose echoes linger in the air. That is the galaxy. Every star, every planet, every comet is part of an endless dialogue, a conversation written not in words, but in light dust and gravity. Atlas, in drifting through our skies, joins this eternal conversation. It speaks once briefly, then continues onward. But even a single sentence is enough to remind us that we are not silent, and we are not alone. When you think of conversation, you may imagine language, syllables, grammar, ideas exchanged. The cosmos speaks differently. Its grammar is orbital mechanics. Its words are elements. Its stories are told in the motion of bodies across space. A comet exhaling carbon dioxide tells us about the nursery where it was born. A star flickering tells us about fusion deep within. A galaxy's spiral arms reveal the dance of gravity over billions of years. Atlas adds its voice to this language, whispering of ancient chaos, of alien chemistry, of journeys longer than our planet's history. Pause for a moment and let yourself listen inwardly, not with ears, but with imagination. Picture Atlas gliding across the black ocean of space tales, unfurling like ribbons, its nucleus tumbling slowly, each jet of vapor a syllable. The sun responds with warmth and wind shaping its plasma tail. The asteroid belt responds with dust brushing against its coma. Even Earth responds as telescopes track, record, and translate. It is a dialogue, whether we realize it or not, an exchange of energy, matter, and meaning. This conversation stretches back far before us. For billions of years, comets have drifted between systems, carrying chemistry from one nursery to another. Some collide with planets, seeding them with water and organics. Some burn in stellar heat, scattering their contents as dust. Each act is part of a sentence, a phrase in the larger story of the galaxy. Atlas is one more phrase delivered in our time, a reminder that this dialogue continues whether we listen or not. And yet how fortunate we are to be listening now. For most of human history, such visitors passed unnoticed. They came and went, their tails faint against the stars, their orbits unseen. Only now, with telescopes scanning the skies, can we catch them in time. Atlas's discovery in 2025 marks not just its arrival, but our readiness. The conversation was always happening. Only now do we hear the echoes clearly. There is something humbling in this. We often think of ourselves as the storytellers, the observers, the chroniclers of the cosmos. But perhaps we are also the audience. The galaxy has been speaking long before we existed. We are not the authors of this dialogue, only participants. Atlas reminds us to listen. Its presence is not a lecture, not a command, but a gentle invitation to open our minds to voices older and larger than ourselves. Cultures have long imagined the universe speaking. The Egyptians saw comets as messengers of Ra, the sun god. The Chinese recorded them as signs of cosmic communication, guest stars carrying omens. The Greeks believed celestial wanderers carried the will of the gods. Today we do not frame them as omens, but the feeling persists. Atlas's glow is still a message. Its difference, its alien chemistry, is still a sign. The cosmos is more varied, more connected than we imagined. Imagine again the room of voices. Atlas enters, speaks and departs. Its sentence is brief, but it changes the tone of the whole conversation. Future visitors will add more. Together they will form a chorus, a symphony of wanderers, each bringing a unique timbre. Oumuamua was the enigmatic whisper. Borisov was the familiar reassurance. Atlas is the accented voice of another nursery, vivid and strange. Each one adds to the eternal dialogue, reminding us that the galaxy is not quiet but alive with exchange. For you lying quietly now, let that thought bring peace. You are part of this conversation too. The atoms in your body once drifted through space, carried by comets, stars, and dust clouds. You are both listener and speaker, both observer and participant. Your breath, your heartbeat, your thoughts are threads woven into the same fabric as Atlas's glow. The comet is not separate from you. It is kin-distant, but connected another note in the same cosmic music. When Atlas departs, the silence will return, but it will not be empty. It will be filled with memory, with data, with wonder. The conversation will continue in other ways, in the trails of dust it leaves behind, in the lessons scientists extract, in the imaginations it awakens. Its voice will linger, just as past comets linger in meteor showers, in myths, in records, on clay tablets and digital files alike. The thread remains unbroken. The conversation remains eternal. So as you close your eyes, picture this: a comet gliding beyond the sun, tails shimmering silence, vast yet meaning everywhere. It drifts away, but its message remains. We belong to a galaxy of dialogue, and our part is to listen, to dream, to weave our own quiet voices into the chorus. Atlas will vanish from our skies, but not from our story, for the galaxy never stops speaking, and we are always part of its eternal conversation.